Hey everyone, so it's been a while since I've done a music review, and I was thinking for like a while that I was gonna eventually come around to doing a album review of Tame Impala's latest album, Deadbeat. I mean, I've already reviewed the Slow Rush and Currents on my channel previously, so I kind of felt like this was kind of like the next step forward for me, what I think about Kevin Parker's fifth studio album venture. So Deadbeat is, as you know, is quite a bit different from his previous four works. It's a very different style, very un-Tame Impala in a lot of ways. I mean, like, fans are used to like his original sound that of course started in 2008 and kind of grew and evolved all the way through Inner Speaker, Lonerism, Currents, and eventually the Slow Rush. And now here we are at his fifth album venture called Deadbeat. So what do I think of Deadbeat? Well, first off the bat, it is pretty damn good for what it is. I mean, it is a very noticeable departure from his original style of music, as he wants to kind of like, you know, change and evolve and shake things up a little bit. He kind of donned on this new persona, visual image for himself, where he basically just made himself a deadbeat. So basically, kind of like his kind of like a musical message of saying, "Don't look up to me so much. I am just like you. I'm just a bum who lives in LA, who came from Perth." Which I have to admit, it is a pretty daring move from him to do something like this. I mean, for like the past 15 years. Tame Impala, in a way, has sort of kind of been like the sole focus of like the indie Australian music movement of the 21st century. I mean, he's kind of like the front man now of that genre of music in this country. Of course, he doesn't live in Australia anymore. I think he lives in LA now. He might come back to Australia to visit his hometown, maybe visit his family who still lives there. I mean, I don't know the guy, but like, as you probably know, this album received a very mixed reception upon release. Some people saying this is a really cool evolution of Tame Impala's style. This is something I didn't expect from him, and we got a lot of other people who really did not like this album in a lot of ways. And for me, I was kind of in the middle at first. I was a bit jarred by how off things sounded compared to his previous three albums. But at the end of the day, I still do not think this is a bad album in any way, shape or form. It's just a very different album, that's all. I definitely like songs more than others. There are some real good hits on this album, for sure. I do think there are a couple of songs on this album that do kind of fumble a bit, but that's all it really is to me. I still found this to be a pretty decent and enjoyable listen the whole way through. So let's start off with the first album, My Old Ways. So My Old Ways is actually a pretty decent opener for this album. It kind of starts off with this piano piece and instantly kind of lunges into this really catchy, you know, like hypnotic electronic beat that kind of evolves throughout the song. It's basically a song about, you know, Tame Impala's, you know, I guess his shitty side and him trying to break past habits. I mean, it is sort of relatable in a way. And it's a good opener, and it kind of, I wouldn't say it's like incredible, but it is good. And it then kind of like moves over into No Reply, which I guess is a song about, I don't know, being ghosted online. I mean, that's what I take away from it anyway, and him trying to say to this random person listening that I guess we have different tastes in media, I guess. I know that whole "you're a cinephile, I watch Family Guy" was very, it was mocked in a lot of ways by Tame Impala fans from what I saw online, saying it was kind of a lazy sort of cringy line. But to me, it was okay. It was pretty good. It is a kind of, it's sort of like a dullish song. There's like a lot of dulled down beats, and it kind of sounds a bit muted to his previous work. I guess I could say that's probably why this album didn't land for a lot of people, because it does sound a bit dulled down and a bit muted compared to his previous four albums, which were often very vibrant, very upbeat, very psychedelic, as what he's known for. And it's not really present on this album. But I got to give the man credit where credit is due. There is a good mixture of styles in this album. He mixes techno in Ethereal Connection, which I actually think was a quite brilliant song about, you know, his love for his new kid that seems to be like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years old now. He shows her during his live shows, and it's kind of like this song of fatherly love, which is kind of sweet coming from the guy. I mean, I don't blame him. It's a good song. It's a very different song. I like the techno influences of that song, and it's overall quite a catchy tune. Dracula was definitely his standout hit for the album. I mean, it's one of the only two out songs that were released pre-album release, which was Dracula and of course Loser, which I will talk about as well. So Dracula, it's a fun, upbeat, sort of electronic dance hit. And if this is really going to be classed as Tame Impala's first, you know, electrono dance hit, it's pretty good for what it is. It's catchy. It has a really nice opening hook that kind of pulls you in. The lyric work is good. There's some good beat change-ups here and there. I wouldn't say it's amazing, though. I would say it's a very 6.5, almost maybe 7-ish song out of 10 for me. But for a first attempt in a new kind of genre of music that Tame Impala has sort of fumbled around with before, but like, this was kind of like, sort of a bit like I'll say more like a nightclub thumper hit in a way. But I liked it. It was a good song. Definitely got stuck in my head quite a lot, and it was good. So, and Loser, another song, I guess a more personal song about, you know, just him feeling down in the dumps and feels like he hasn't really amounted to anything, which is a total lie, because of course, like, Tame Impala is like one of the most successful modern musicians of like the last decade. So it was quite unusual to hear him you know, sing lyrics about things like this. But I guess it is relatable in a way. I mean, nobody wants to be called a loser, but I mean, it was a nice track, I guess. Had a pretty unique, funny music video with that actor from Stranger Things who plays, what's his character's name again? Steve. And I've already forgotten the name of that actor, but he was in it. And it was kind of sort of like a more simple music video, kind of full of just like following tracking shots of him walking around this sort of dilapidated, crappy looking store in Los Angeles, which I guess is what Tame Impala wanted to do for the music video for this song. Of course, Dracula's music video is a lot more exciting and upbeat. I mean, it's literally him taking his pet road truck train out for a walk, which is also carrying a house, which is completely random and completely insane, and it's something that I definitely love seeing from the man. There are other songs on this album that I don't like as much. I mean, Not My World it's kind of a meandering, kind of dreary sort of track in the first half, but it immediately changes into this pretty catchy and pretty headbangy beat drop, if you can call it that, towards the second half of the song. And it is really quite interesting of just how, like, this song, two halves, really sort of contrast against like each other. It's almost like two songs smashed into one. But also at the same time, the more I listen to it, it does sound a bit dull, a bit colourless, a bit flavourless. But it is catchy, and it is a good beat, and it's a good hook, and it's a good rhythm. So, I mean, it's also another good one of Tame Impala's different songs. Okay, there are a couple of songs on this album that I weren't a real big fan with. Let's talk about Piece of Heaven. It kind of is like, it's about this song about Tame Impala's crush, I guess. High school crush, if you can call it that. And him being in her bedroom and, you know, all the romantic, you know, stuff that would entail. it is a bit of a cheeky song. It's also a pretty bland and forgettable song, kind of ripping that that violin pluck that you hear in a lot of older Enya songs. It is funny to an extent, but it's a pretty bland and forgettable song. Obsolete is kind of this this more electronic sort of trancey song that kind of reminds me of something that would be like on like a B-side of Currents. It's probably the one song on this album that sounds more similar to his previous works, and it's good. I mean, it has a good opening, a good riff. I guess the song is about Tame Impala feeling like he will like fall into like the valley of mediocrity as his career goes on, as well as him, just the fear of him becoming obsolete, obviously, him becoming like forgotten about or not really admired, if you can say like that, something like that. And it is sort of another sort of a little depressive song. I mean, there's this line saying, we keep on saying that it's done, we just did it for fun, whatever you call that. But it does have this pretty upbeat and cheeky little outro, which does kind of grow on me the more I listen to it. It is it is a bit of a mixed bag of a song to me, but it's still an enjoyable listen, and I really do like that outro. Alright, and here's the one song on this album that I really did not like at all. I thought it was just bad, and that song was See You on Monday, You're Lost. What was this song? I mean, really, the intro, piano intro, is as dull as it gets. It's just basically, every time I listen to that weird piano intro, I think of that keyboard cat meme from like 2006. And this song, it's just dull, 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 and I don't like it at all. I thought it would grow on me the more I listen to it, but the more I listen to this song in particular, the worse it gets for me. It's kind of like this song that just spins around in a circle for a bit and ends with Tame Impala telling the listener that they're lost. I mean, what the hell is this song trying to be? I mean, it's depressing, it's dull, it's forgettable, and I just don't like listening to it. So that's probably one of the main reasons why people didn't like this album, because of this song in particular. This song was definitely like the low point of the album. It like dropped off with this song. And I do think it is actually the worst Tame Impala song that's ever been made, by a long shot. It's probably the only Tame Impala I've listened to that I would actually say is bad. And I don't really think Kevin should make another song like this, but that's just my opinion. Afterthought is a lot better than the previous song, See You on Monday, You're Lost. It's catchy, it's upbeat, and it's kind of like a bit of a love letter to the diehard fans, saying that, like, I've seen YouTube comments saying, we're never an afterthought to you, Kevin. So it kind of feels like more of like a personal, artist to fan song, which is nice. Also opening up about his insecurities and fears, which I think is what a lot of this album is about. It's a much more personal album compared to his previous four. He's being more direct with the listener than he was in his previous albums. So, I mean, he's not giving something that the fans automatically think they want and like deserve. He's just basically telling it as it is on this album. And I admire that. I mean, it's a brave move. And, sometimes an artist just needs to do that, and who cares of what everybody thinks of what he's going to do next. And of course, the album ends on, the already quite well-known song, End of Summer, which was definitely the first song on this album that pretty much everyone knew about before this album came out. And it's this it's a very progressive, trancey, emotional, very emotional in fact, song about running out of time. And it's very obvious that this song is about past regrets and past mistakes and wishing you could go over and redo your life and redo areas where you fucked up and where you messed up, but you just can't, so you got to move forward. This song hit me so hard last year because of personal things going on in my life. and people that I know, that I actually could not listen to it anymore because it reminded me too much of people that I know. And I guess that was the point of the song. This song, to me, is too relatable. And that's not really a good thing in a lot of ways. I mean, it felt kind of like a mirror of what happened to me in 2025. And to me, this might actually be the most memorable song of the year. It is, I would say, it's definitely Tame Impala's masterpiece of Deadbeat, if you can call it that. I mean, it's definitely the best song. And you can see why it was saved for last. I mean, it has a really, it has an opening beat that easily worms its way into your head. It has a very, very rain-washed, depressive feel to it. But it also has a bit of a ruthless edge to it as well. Kind of like the beat is kind of like fighting to stay alive halfway through the song. And it kind of feels like a song, the more you listen to it, the more you feel like an imaginary timer appears above your head. And you feel, oh shit, I'm running out of time. What am I going to do next? And I can see why it's polarizing, because that's the way that song made me feel the more I listened to it. And it is a very, it's a very personal song, like the way it's written. But it's a good song, and but I can see that it was a bit of a divisive song in a lot of ways. But anyway, that's the end of the album. So, what am I going to give Deadbeat for a final score? I think after a lot of thinking and listening to it for the past 5 or 6 months, I'm going to give this album a 6.5. It is a decent album. It's definitely not Tame Impala's best, that's for sure. It is probably you know, his weakest album by a long shot. But it's still good, and you can see that Kevin is trying to evolve his style, his musical style, and definitely his image. Well, he's evolving his style, but his image is just changing for a bit. So he's kind of like putting on a crappy shirt, looking like a deadbeat, just looking like a loser with ruined ass hair and frazzled hair. And I've heard people say that, like, during his most recent Deadbeat tour, there are parts where he just lies down on stage for like several minutes, like a piece of garbage. Also, not to mention, I did see Tame Impala live, in a way. He was the pre-act for the Justice Hyperdrama tour in Australia. And I remember him coming on, performing Dracula and a couple of other songs that weren't his. But anyway, he came back at the end of the Justice concert in his, you know, crappy shirt, frazzled, ruined hair persona. And he was doing this when the Justice Cross came on stage. He was like worshipping Justice, which I thought was hilarious. But he also did something when he walked off stage and left the stage. He did this. And to me, that was kind of like gesturing, saying like, you know, screw you guys, I can do what I want. And that is what this whole album is, in a nutshell. It's just him doing what he wants, and he doesn't care about what other people think of him. And you know what? Good on him for doing that, because not many artists these days would have, I guess, the bravery that he has to make a move like this. I mean, most artists will just, you know, listen to what the fans want, give what the fans want. Tame Impala is one of those albums that still kind of has the courage, I guess, to exercise his freedom of what he's going to make next. And I do admire artists who do that. Daft Punk were one of those artists as well. They decided to quit and hang up the helmets when nobody else wanted them to. But I guess their reasons for doing it were sincere and pure. They said they were very worried about the state of the use of AI in the music industry, and I guess they didn't want their robot personas to be ruined. So I guess that is a very justifiable reason of why Daft Punk left the scene 5 years ago now. I do still wish they would come back, but it's pretty obvious at this point that they are probably not going to do that. Which is funny, because Thomas Bangalter is still making his own music, but he's not doing Daft Punk music anymore, like electronic music. He's doing like symphony orchestrations, which is something I wouldn't expect from him. But hey, he can do what he wants, and none of us can convince him otherwise. And I see this kind of the same thing for Kevin Parker. He's his own person, he can do what he wants. I think he is getting tired of all the fame that he's getting, and he just wants to be left alone and treated like a normal human being. So So I think that's what we should do with him now on. I mean, I loved his music. Most people my age has listened to his music. He has kind of inspired a generation of listeners. In a way, he has brought back a style that was basically dead before 2010, which was psychedelic rock, and he made it popular again. And he also kind of put Australia back on the map for like popular music, definitely for indie music, in a way that we haven't really seen since like Savage Garden and the later Darren Hayes albums, and also a lot of the electronic artists of the 2000s, like the Presets and Sneaky Sound System. Tame Impala was kind of the next step after that, and I do really appreciate him for what he's done for music. So if this was his last album, you know what, I would be fine with that, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be. But time will tell if he'll make another one. It probably will be a while, because usually his creative cycle for making albums usually spans somewhere between 3 and 5 years. So just give him his space, you know, let him cook, as what his fans say. And that's my opinion of Deadbeat. Hopefully you enjoyed what I had to say about the album. If you have if you want to express your opinions about this album, just leave me a comment below and I will read it. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed what I had to say, and as always, take care. Thank you.